Oink. That's Sunita.
Hari Om.
Namo
Hari Om.
Narayana,
Namo
Sunita.
Narayana. How are you? So
I'm
nice to
good.
see you. So nice to see you.
Om Namo.
Yeah, I'm back in Dehradun now.
So nice. So nice. We missed you so much.
I know we didn't have class, no? For 3 weeks, I think, or 2 weeks or 3 weeks, we didn't have class.
Right, right.
Monica,
Om Namo.
how are you? Namo Narayanaya, Soni uncle.
Namo Narayana, Guru Maji.
Namo Narayanaya. We
Om
have
Namo
2 minutes
Narayana.
and then we will start. We have 2 minutes, then we can start. Wow, Anita is in Rishikesh. Anita, yes. How is it? पानी बहुत ऊपर होगा ना?
हाँ, बहुत पानी बहुत है.
Yes, I'm looking forward.
आज nothing
ओम नमो नारायणाय
करेंगे.
Good. आज तो क्लास शुरू नहीं हुआ, कल से शुरू हो जाएगा.
कल से हो जाएगा शुरू.
शोभा, तुम्हारी फिर से ये यू वाली शुरू हो गई है. तो क्यों आती है? मैं उसको रीनेम
मेरी क्लास है बाद.
ओके, तो हम लोग शुरू कर देते हैं. ठीक है? I think whoever is going to come has come. So we will start. So I will have to share the screen for our prayers.
Om Namo Narayana.
Namo Narayanaya Bhatya uncle. Very nice to see you. I'm also waiting to come.
नमो नारायणाय गुरु
Okay,
माजी.
Namo Narayanaya. Bhatya uncle is in Rishikesh. Okay, so we are going to start. Okay, let's start with our prayers. Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavat Padam Shankaram Lokashankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutra Bhashya Kritau Vande Bhagavanto Punah Punaha Sadashivasamarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam Ishvaro Gururatmeti Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyomavadyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha. तो ये लास्ट प्रेयर में पूरे अद्वैत बैठा है. वेरी नाइस. एंड वी विल गो टू आवर क्लास टुडे and let's look at our verses that we want to do. Okay, I have to put you people here. Okay. Atmano vikriya nasti buddhir bodho na jatviti jivas sarvamalam jnatva Jnata drishteti muhyate. Such lovely verses, you know. Rajju sarpavadatmanam jivam jnatva bhayam vahe naham jiva paratmeti jnataschet nirbhayo bhavet. आत्मावभासयत्येको बुद्ध्यादीनिन्द्रियाणि दीपो घटादिवत् स्वात्मा जडैस्तैनावभास्यते. So here a very important point is said here, that the self is self-revealing. Self reveals everything. It is not revealed by anything because it is self-revealing. Swabodho nanya bodhecha bodha rupatayatmanaha nadi pasyanya deepecha yatha swatma prakashate. और वही बात बताई है इधर कि it is self-revealing because it is of the nature of consciousness. So it does not require any other consciousness to reveal it. Nothing. It reveals itself. Okay. निषिध्य निखिलोपाधि नेति नेति वाक्यतः विद्यादैक्य महावाक्ये जीवात्मा परमात्मनोः. And now starts the teaching how to gain this knowledge. So Shankaracharya is saying, Nikhil, Nishidya Nikhila Upadhi means all the Upadhis, may you recognize them for what they are. They are instruments, they are object of your knowledge, they are anityam, they are mithya iti. So therefore be able to see them as they are. Nishidya, you can take it as see them as they are. Negating means seeing it as it is. That means it is not me, it is my instrument, it is not me iti. And then with the help of the Mahavakyas, may you recognize your identity with Atma. Avidyakam shariradi drishyam budbudavaksharam etad vilakshanam vidyat aham brahmeti nirmalam. And what is the result of that negating all the upadhis? How did you negate the upadhis? By recognizing that they are drishyam, budbudavat sharam, they are anityam, like bubbles, iti. They are not here forever. That means the body is not here forever. No, the whole complex is not here forever. And so, recognizing them as they are, for what they are, recognize who you are. You are the one who is illumining all of them, iti. And therefore, recognize yourself as Brahman, iti, who is completely separate from these. Okay. This is what we did last time. देहान्यत्वात् न मे जन्म जरा काश्यलयादयः शब्दादि विषयै संगो निरिन्द्रियतया न च. So recognize yourself as you are, that I am other than the body. Okay? Dehat anyatvat. And because I am separate from the body, I am independent from this body-mind complex, therefore I am free from janma, from old age, okay, from becoming weak and decaying, etc. When we become old, very old, we become weak, iti. In me, none of this is there. Janma, jara, kashya, laya, dayaha, none of these is there in me. And so, shabdadi vishayaihi sangaha nacha. And a very big thing is being said over here. I'm so completely independent that I have nothing to do with Shabdadi iti. Why? Because I don't even have sense organs. Means consciousness is free of sense organs. So we saw in the previous class that our thinking has got conditioned by lifetimes of ignorance. I'll put you all up so I can see you. Okay? We are highly conditioned to identify with our body mind. And so what do we need? We need a process of deconditioning. Now, Nidhyasana is that process of deconditioning. In fact, Puja Swamiji, he used to use this word. He used to say, he would not say decondition, he would say dehypnotize. In his vision, it's as though we are hypnotized because of ignorance. We are hypnotized to identify with this body-mind complex. And so, we have to dehypnotize ourselves. Meaning decondition, remove this habitual identification. And it's very crucial. And that is the purpose of Nidhyasana. So instead of the lion example which we saw last time, we can see a more modern example. Now the sun does not set. This is the truth. Sun doesn't set. For our purposes, sun is stationary in the sky. But we are standing on a rotating planet, watching the sun. So actually we are rotating away from the sun. If the sun is there, we are rotating away from it. And we are on rotating at an axis of 23 degrees, Iti. So what actually happens is that the horizon moves up, giving the illusion that the sun is setting. We think the sun is moving down when actually it is the horizon moving up. Let me show you, okay? Watch the video. So actually, if you were, there, if you were here somewhere, it's the whole earth is tilting up. We are on a rotating planet, it's rotating away from the sun, and it gives that illusion. Again, I'll show you. It's a very nice, oops. अरे यार ये कहाँ चला गया? Right? Okay, I'll have to click it here. See how, supposing you knew this. In fact, that's the Nidhyasana I'm going to suggest. So we are on that planet and the planet is rotating away from the sun. But we are getting the impression that the sun is setting. Now, even though we know that the sun does not really set, to us it is looking like the sun is going down. That means in terms of our experience, okay, the sun is seeming to go down. Okay. Now this is a good example for us of Viparita Bhavana. Bhavana means feeling. Viparita means contrary to what is true. So there is a feeling contrary to what is true. The sun, we see it going down. That is an experience or a feeling which is contrary to what we know to be true. In the same way, when we habitually identify with our body, okay, we habitually identify with our body mind, taking them to be me. This is me. Actually, they are instruments. I don't take my glasses to be me, My glasses are my instrument for me to see better. Similarly, the body mind is instrument for me to transact with the world. But I take it to be me. I take it to be my only truth. That is what we call as Viparita Bhavana. It's a feeling contrary to what I already know to be true. Because after listening to Vedanta, I know that I am Satchidananda, which means what? I am Atma, Satchidananda Atma. I am Ajaha, unborn, uncreated, unchanging consciousness, which is utterly independent of the body mind. So, let me give you an example of Nidhyasana. Supposing tomorrow when the sun is going down, you go outside and you watch it from your own home's comfort. ठीक है? अपने ही घर से आप देख रहे हो उसको. As you watch the sunset, you visualize that yourself, that you are sitting, okay, on this rotating huge globe, huge ball of a planet, which is rolling backwards as the sun floats in space without moving. So sun is in front without moving. You're visualizing that you are on this huge ball of a planet which is going backwards. We saw the video, so you know what it looks like. So just imagine it in your mind. The sun is for our purposes stationary in front. And you are on this big globe and you are going backwards. Okay? It is tilting backwards. So contemplate on that. Now supposing you do this today or tomorrow, you do this the day after, and you do it every day for 41 days. Why 41 days? Because traditionally 41 days is one Anushtana. It's also called as a mandala, So it is one Anushtana period. So for 41 days, you're watching the sunset and you're doing this contemplation while you're watching it, that, oh, actually I am on this big ball of a planet which is rolling backwards the sun is not going down. I am going backwards. Iti, the horizon is therefore coming up. Now, supposing you do this for 41 days. Okay, 41 evenings you have done it. On the 42nd evening, your friend is joining you. And then you are both watching the sunset together. Now your friend says to you that, Hare, look at the sunset. It is so beautiful. You know what your response will be? You would probably tell the friend that, no, the sun is not going down. We are tilting backwards. Iti. Because after doing this kind of contemplation for 41 days, that sense of the sun going down would be removed. So this is an example of Nidhyasana. The point is to remove the habitual error which is taking place. Viparita bhavana means habitual. By habit it is happening, there is an error. And then we want to remove that error through a process of reflection, contemplation. Okay? So from verse 31 to 38, we have this topic of removal of Viparita bhavana through Nidhyasana. Now let's look at the next verse. Amanastvatna me dukkha raga dvesha bhayadayah aprano hyamana shubhra ityadi shruti shasanat. So me means me. Amanastvat, that which is without a mind. Amanas, because I have no mind. I am mindless. What does it say? I am mindless. Okay. Therefore what? I'm free from sorrow. I'm free from attachment. Okay. I'm free from dvesha, from hate, from aversion. I'm free from bhaya, fear, and all the other emotions that trouble us. Consciousness is free of it. Iti. So, what Shastra is pointing it out is that you are consciousness that illumines, that reveals, that pervades, that enlivens, and therefore consciousness does not have thoughts. Consciousness reveals thoughts. Okay, it illumines thoughts. Consciousness does not have emotions. Consciousness reveals emotions. Consciousness does not have sensations. Consciousness reveals sensations. So that means thoughts, emotions, sensations, they all belong to what? They belong to the mind. Okay. So amanastvat, because amanaha, because I'm independent of the mind. Therefore, name dukkha. For me, there is no dukkha. There is no sadness. Meaning sadness belongs to the mind, not to the consciousness that you are. Raga, desire or passion, that also belongs to the mind, not to the consciousness that you are. Dvesha, that also belongs to the mind, not to the consciousness that you are. Bhaya, that belongs to the mind, not to consciousness. In fact, all the vrittis belong to the mind, not to consciousness. I just thought of a funny way of doing. So all vrittis belong to the mind, not to consciousness, Satchit Atma. Shastra is pointing out, if sadness or any other emotion for that matter, any vritti, any thought form, any thought modification, if it is really your nature, note, this is a very important logic. If sadness or any other emotion is really your nature, if it is part of your nature, iti, then it should always be there. Like in fire, the nature of fire is heat. Therefore, heat is always there in fire. There is no such thing as a cold fire. The nature means that which is always there. So if we think that we are affected by sadness, etc., that means we think it is our nature. It is always there. It is truly me. Then we need to rethink. Because the truth is that we are consciousness. So according to Vedanta, if the condition of the mind, such as sadness, truly belongs to consciousness as its nature, then it should be present even in those moments when our mind is silent. Because if it's our nature, it should never go away. It's a very important logic used in Vedanta. Okay? But what do we find? At the moments that we have silence, we are actually totally free of all the conditions that are there in the mind. So, when we sit for Nidhyasana, we first meditate, meaning we take to some meditative practice to make our mind silent just for a few moments. Just for a few moments. Could be just 5 seconds. Then, in those few moments of silence, sometimes while doing japa, mind becomes so still. While doing pranayama, mind becomes so still. Okay? Then those few moments of silence, when they are over, we have an opportunity to reflect, to find out whether or not those thoughts and vrittis and emotions which were there in our mind, they truly affect the consciousness that we are. Because when the mind is silent, when there is a silence, we are very much there. We are present in that silence, no? Iti? So this is experiential proof. In those moments of silence, what do we discover? After that moments of silence are over, we use those moments to reflect. We discover that consciousness, which is our essential nature, which is there even in the moments of silence, okay, is utterly unaffected by the vrittis which are there in the mind. Right? That means what? All the problems of the mind, they belong to the mind. Right? They belong to the mind. They do not belong to consciousness. So those few moments of silence, we should use them properly. Later on, when we come out of those moments of silence, when we are in the silence, we don't reflect. It's silent, there's no thought there. But when we come out, we can use those moments of silence as an opportunity to experientially confirm what we already know through our satsang, etc., which we are listening through our shravana and manana. What we already know, we use it to confirm experientially. Because cognitively and conceptually, let me see if I can stop this and talk to you directly. Yeah. Because cognitively and conceptually, we already know, that we are Satchidananda because we've been attending these satsangs, etc. Yet because of life, decades and we can say lifetimes of conditioning, feeling that, oh, I feel like I'm affected by the sadness in my mind. So these feelings, are there. I think I'm an affected person, though they need to be addressed through Nidhyasana, through seeing again and again and again in those moments of silence, after the silence, reflecting that in those moments of silence, was the sadness there or not? Iti. Consciousness was there, but no other emotion was there. Iti. And therefore you find that consciousness that one is free. It is totally unaffected by the problems of one's mind, by the problems of one's senses, by the problems of one's body. Therefore, we can see that Nidhyasana is a very unique and specific, it has a very unique and specific purpose in Vedanta. Main practice usually in classes is what? We have Shravana. Yeah, we are listening to what the teacher is saying. We are having Manana. And we know that Shravana is not just listening. It means a process of self-inquiry guided by these teachings under a teacher, right? So the main practice usually in all our classes is Shravana. And of course, we are doing Manana because we are addressing questions and we are removing doubts. So our main engagement is Shravana and Manana. We bring up issues, doubts are there, usko bhi hum nikal denge iti. Whereas the purpose of Nidhyasana is very special and unique because it addresses the problem of Viparita Bhavana, habitual identification. And for those of us who have been studying Vedanta since a long time, we all know this problem very well. Because even though the teachings of Vedanta have helped us to discover very vividly and clearly that I am conscious being, Satchidananda Atma, who's totally independent of my body and senses, yet there is problem of habitual identification with the body, mind, senses. And that is natural because we have been under influence of ignorance for lifetime. And so all that conditioning will not disappear naturally. हमने बस हम समझ गए और कंडीशनिंग चला गया. No, samskara is not like that. Still, there is so much conditioning that we continue to identify with the body and mind, taking it to be me. We don't take it to be my instrument, we take it to be me. So, and what happens when this kind of identification is there? There is suffering. Right? There is attachment, there is suffering. All the problems of which we are not able to solve of the body and mind, they become my problems. Iti. So if we can recognize ourselves to be independent of the body and mind, then the problems of the body, they belong to the body. The problems of the mind, they belong to the mind. And then we understand also body and mind is part of Ishvara. It is part of Ishvara's order. And so the problems that we can't solve of our body and mind, we learn to accept them and be practical towards them. We just treat them very practically. Okay. So I'll have to share again. Yeah. Okay, so we saw this. We meditate, we let our mind become quiet, we reflect that when the mind becomes silent, do the vrittis like sadness affect our consciousness, and we discover that consciousness, which is our essential nature, is utterly unaffected by sadness, okay, or any other vritti. So all the problems of one's mind belong to the mind, not to consciousness. So there is a connection, we have two words, dhyana and nididhyasana. Meditation is dhyana, nididhyasana is contemplation. So meditation or dhyana comes first because it prepares us for this kind of contemplation or nididhyasana. So we use meditative practices to help our mind to become quiet just for a few moments. Don't think that this is some big accomplishment, that you have to be a big yogi तो मन को शांत करने के लिए ऐसा कुछ नहीं है. We want only for few moments. We are not talking about being in long hours for samadhi. ऐसे we are not talking. वो थोड़े silence चाहिए ताकि हम देख पाए कि जब हमारे मन silent है तो हमें कोई problem है ही नहीं. इति. That's all we need. For that we need a little skill. इति. Because usually our minds are full of vrittis. So much of vrittis are there, dukkha, raga, dvesha, bhaya, sab kuch hai. So what works for me, usually, when I sit for meditation, what I do is I just become a non-judgmental observer. of all the body parts, and then the breathing and the mind, non-judgmentally. And then whatever I observe, I use devotion, just offer it to the Lord. Offering means acknowledging that all this is Lord. Whatever I have observed, it is all the Lord. It is not other than the Lord's manifestation. ये तो ईश्वर ही है, इस तरह से it is manifesting. And what happens in that is there is so much acceptance and contentment. The mind becomes very, very quiet. This is the method I use. Okay, my mind behaves very decently when I do this. Eh? Japa also, japa is a dhyanam actually, japat dhyanam. There also the mind can become very quiet. Iti. Okay. So anyway, the mind becomes quiet. And I just need 4-5 seconds, seconds of quietness where it is perfectly still. Mind has become completely still. And in those 4-5 seconds, okay, before the 5 seconds of silence, what was there in the mind? Lot of things were there in the mind. Now in the 5 seconds of silence, what is there in the mind? Totally silent. Nothing is there. Iti. There's no dukkha. There's no ragadvesha. There is no bhaya. None of this is there. No problem in that 5 seconds of silence. Now, when those 5 seconds of silence are over and the mind starts thinking again, then you reflect and see the fact, because it's a fact, that you were very much present as consciousness, you were present, but none of the vrittis were present at that time. So what does it mean? Vrittis belong to the mind. Iti, vrittis belong to the mind. So let's look at the steps. First, make a sankalpa that I want to contemplate. I want to reflect. I want to understand. I want to reflect, okay, on what I already know. So what do? I make a sankalpa that I want to contemplate on, do the problems of my mind belong to me, consciousness, or not? Having accepted that I am consciousness, okay, now because I have viparita bhavana, that I think that all the issues of my body mind belong to me. So now I make a sankalpa that I want to do this contemplation, that do the problems of my mind, do they belong to me? Then I meditate. Whatever method works for you to make the mind quiet. If you're not able to make the mind quiet, then take to japam. That's why I say take to japam. Because we do need, those few moments of silence we do need. And they come to all of us, Sabko wo aata hai, but then use those moments of silence to understand Vedanta. जब मन एकदम शांत होता है, कोई वृत्ति ही नहीं है, अपना बॉडी की भान भी नहीं है उसमें, इति. Now, after it is over, okay, reflect on that experience of shanti, of silence. Ask yourself, in those 5 seconds of silence, was there any dukkha? Was there any raga? Was there any dvesha? Was there any bhaya? Was there any problem of any kind? And the answer will be no. No, no, no. Har mein no aayega. It is at this point, that you recognize and you assimilate that all the problems of the mind belong to the mind. And the essence of who you are is self-revealing consciousness, which is utterly free of all the problems. Iti. Why to do this? Because we have this viparita bhavana, we have habitual wrong thinking, that these vrittis all belong to me. They are all part of the consciousness. So we do this kind of contemplation to remove the habitual thinking. You know, in our example of the sunset, I told you that do it 41 days, 41 evenings. आप वो करो, right? Lion story में पिछले बार we saw lion had to look at the mirror every day, okay, to remove the habitual thinking of that I am a sheep. So it had to be done again and again, repeated again and again. So coming back to our verse, amanastvat. Okay, so the first part of the verse, amanastvat name dukkha raga dvesha bhayadayaha, it refers to doing this Nidhyasana repeatedly to remove the habitual identification. And the second half of the verse, ityadi shruti shasanat, okay, saying that thus it is said according to the teachings of the Shruti or the Upanishads. What do they reveal? What does Shruti Shasanat reveal? What does Shruti reveal? It reveals aprano, hi, amanaha, shubhraha. What is this consciousness? It is apranaha, it is amanaha, it is shubhraha, apranaha. My true nature is free from prana. It is unassociated with prana. It is amanaha. It is free from the mind. It is independent of the mind. It is disconnected from the mind. It is shubhraha. It is shining, self-illumining, utterly unaffected by the problems of prana and manaha. So this statement comes from Mundaka Upanishad. Mundaka Upanishad says, Divyo hi amurtaha purushaha sabahyam bhyantaro hyajaha aprano hi amanaha shubhraha hi aksharat paratap paraha. I should have changed this font. So aprano hi amana shubhraha hi aksharat paratap paraha. So he's saying divyaha. Divyaha. The Rishi reveals Divya, the conscious being, the truth of who you are. What is it? It is Divyaha. It is shining, self-shining, self-revealing. Amurtaha. It is formless, that which has no form, that which has no edge, that which has no boundary, and therefore that which has no limits, and therefore that which is sabahya abhyantaraha, that which is present outside and that which is present inside. It is both external and internal, meaning it is all pervasive. It's inside and outside. He indeed, it is ajaha. Okay, he ajaha. And then we have this quote from so Atmabodha has taken the quote from Mundaka Upanishad. Atmabodha is saying what? That the conscious being that you are is apranaha. Same as what Mundaka, it's taken it from Mundaka. He amanaha, free from the mind, independent of the mind. It is shubhraha, shining, pure, utterly unaffected by the defects of prana and the mind. And what is it? Aksharat paratap paraha. It is beyond everything. It is transcendent, meaning it is satyam. Everything else is mithya. So, how does this Nidhyasana, how will it work? These 3 steps, very nice, these 3 steps given by a senior Swamiji. First is, know what is the habitual identification that you want to address. Let's focus on prana. We have already done manaha. Since we have already done mana, we'll do prana. Prana means what? The life force. See, now I have come out to an age, I'm a senior citizen. I'm starting to feel old. But is old age a problem to me consciousness? Does old age affect me consciousness? Shruti has showed me and I have understood that conscious being is Satchidananda Atma? No, this is step 1. Step 2 is meditate until the mind becomes totally silent for just a few seconds. Then when the mind becomes active again, reflect on that silence. Ask yourselves, in that silence, is there any experience of being old? Right now, there is an experience of being old. But when the mind is completely quiet, there is no oldness, there's no age, there's no birth, there's no death, there's no time. So in those few moments of silence, we have an opportunity to experientially confirm what we have already understood. So we can say in a way that contemplation is to experientially confirm what you have already understood to be true. So in those moments of silence, you can experientially confirm that the problems of your mind belong to your mind. Yeah? Okay. So age belongs to your body and doesn't affect you at all. Okay. Just give me a minute. Okay, now let's look at this. In the next verse, too much to absorb, then let me know. Then we can do the next verse next time, or we have more than enough time to do the next verse. Eh? So you all can let me know how you feel. Feel I can go on, or you feel you would like me to stop? Okay, no answer means I should go on. If you feel, okay, so the next verse is Nirguno Nishkriyo Nityo Nirvikalpo Niranjanaha Nirvikaro Nirakaro Nityamuktosmi Nirmalaha. So here the word is Asmi. The Sanskrit walas have done little bit Asmi. Here Avagraha means there is an sitting there silently. So Asmi. Asmi Nityamuktosmi means I. Asmi means I am. This is first person teaching. This verse is also in first person. So what happens is third person is used for teaching you something. If I say Atma is Satchidananda, that means third person teaching is going on. I'm talking to you about Atma. If I say you are Satchidananda, that is second person teaching, right? When I'm saying you are Satchidananda. But here, if I say I am Satchidananda, then what does it become? It becomes first person teaching. And first person is always used when we want to do Nidhyasana. So directly we are saying, I am Satchidananda. Okay. So the last verb in the line is Asmi. I am. First person. I am what? So even if we don't know Sanskrit, we'll be able to understand what is happening in this verse. Because you can see that the prefix nir, nirgunaha, nishkriyaha, nirvikalpaha, niranjanaha, nirvikaraha, nirakaraha, right? So this nir is being used all the time. Okay, nirgunaha, without gunas. Nir means without. Nir becomes nish when you are using it with kriya. So nishkriyaha, without action. Nirvikalpaha, without vikalpa. We will see all the meanings. Niranjanaha, without anjana. Nirvikara, without vikara. Nirakara, without akara. Nirmalaha, without malaha. Interesting. All these are words of negation. Without. Consciousness is without, without, without. Iti. And that's very significant because we saw earlier that consciousness is self-revealing, right? Swaprakashaha. It does not, earlier verses had told us, it does not require another light to light it up. It is self-revealing, self-illumining, swaprakasha iti. Therefore, you don't really need to discover Atma or create Atma because Atma is already present here and now. Even in this ordinary experience of ours, where you are listening to me, Atma is present. It is present as consciousness or awareness because of which, by which, you know, you are able to hear these words. You are able to understand these words. You are able to know what is in your mind. You are able to know what is externality. All of this is known to you because of the presence of consciousness, awareness. And that consciousness alone is Atma. There is no other Atma except consciousness iti. Yet the problem is, even though this consciousness is self-revealing, Swaprakashe, Swayam Jyoti we call it, Swaprakashe, the true nature of consciousness is not known. And because you don't know the true nature of your consciousness, then what happens? We end up superimposing all kinds of things upon consciousness. If you don't know that consciousness is changeless, then you superimpose the vrittis of your mind like sadness on consciousness. And you say, I became sad. I became happy yesterday. I was so happy yesterday. I am sad today. Not knowing that our consciousness is changeless, we go and superimpose many, many wrong conclusions on our self, iti, which is Atma. So, in fact, when you say that I am, and then put a blank there, okay? I am, and I put a blank there. Then, whatever, I am, I tell you now, you put there, I am. Whatever we put in the third word to fill in the blank, almost always is a superimposition. If I say I am Swamini Tattva Vidyananda, hey, consciousness isn't Swamini Tattva Vidyananda. If I say I am a teacher, I am a female, okay, then I am only referring to the personality, which is made of the body and mind. I am not referring, it is not to the consciousness that I am, right? So in any statement that I am, if I feel anything about my personality, then that statement will be false because I am consciousness and consciousness alone, period. Everything else, if you want to find a relationship with the body, you better call it your instrument. It is an instrument for me. Mind is an instrument for me. I am not my instrument. Specs are an instrument for me. I am not my specs. Iti. So we can see how important it is to remove the wrong conclusions about this self-revealing, changeless consciousness. We have to negate them. And that's why in this verse, so much of negation is there. So the technical word is Nisheda Paravakyam. Okay, so Vedanta is primarily in form of negation because we have so many conclusions about ourselves. So let's look at that. Nirgunaha, free from guna. Guna means what? Attributes. So attributes could be like happiness, like sadness, and all attributes, the height, the weight, the age, all these are attributes, but they belong to the body and mind. Age, gender belongs to the body. Health of the body, you can call it prana. Different feelings, manaha. Then intellect, your thoughts and decisions, they are all buddhi. These are all attributes of the body mind, whereas consciousness is nirgunaha, free from the attributes of the body and mind. In fact, free means what? Unaffected. It is not affected by the attributes of the body and mind. Nishkriya, free from action. So when it's free from action, we can say it is unchanging. Consciousness is unchanging. Nishkriya can be translated as unchanging. What is changing? Body is changing. Mind is changing. Some days you feel good. Some days you don't feel so good. But Atma doesn't have good day and bad day, you know. For consciousness, Atma, every day is good. No ups and downs. Iti. Then let's look at this. Nitya. Nitya means eternal. It looks like it's a positive word, no? Atma is eternal, positive word. But if we even analyze a positive word, we will find that eternal is actually negative in the sense that what does eternal mean? That which is not born. Only then it can be eternal, because what is born comes at a particular time, then it's not eternal. So that which is unborn, which is uncreated, which is not subject to death, which is not subject to decay, not subject to destruction. So Nitya also is a word of negation, because your body is born, your body dies. Consciousness is not born, consciousness does not die. Consciousness is no age, is ageless. Eh? Then what do we have? Nirvikalpaha. Vikalpa means a modification. Nirvikalpa means that which is free of modification, free of change. Vikalpa also means thought. So nirvikalpa means that which is free of all thought, all changing conditions, because thoughts change all the time, right? Moods change, up, down, all this belongs to mind. Atma is free of being happy one day, sad one day. Atma is nirvikalpa, free from any changes. Then Niranjana. Anjana is that which colors something, that which can stain, you know. All my kurtas, I don't know how I'm managing to stain them, you know. Pen, I have to make all new ones क्योंकि वो stain निकलते नहीं हैं. So, Anjana means to stain, to color. Iti. Impurity that causes staining. Anjana has some other meanings also, but here Niranjana means that which is stainless, which is uncolored, which is untainted, which is unaffected. Whatever affects our body and mind doesn't affect consciousness. Consciousness is Niranjana, utterly unaffected by problems of body and mind. Nirvikara. Vikara means change. Body is constantly changing. Mind is changing. Consciousness doesn't change. Now here again I'll use logic. Only an unchanging observer can observe changes. The one who knows the changes is you, consciousness. All the changes are known to you, the conscious being. Example, supposing you are driving your car on the highway, say at 60 kilometers an hour, and you're looking at the car next to you, okay? It is driving alongside with you, and the fellow in that car is drinking his coffee or whatever, he's drinking something. So he is drinking his coffee at 60 kilometers an hour, but you don't see him drinking coffee at 60 kilometers an hour because you are also driving at the same speed. In order to experience that person drinking his coffee or tea or whatever it is at 60 kilometers an hour, you will have to be a stationary observer on the side of the road. In the same way, to observe the changing conditions of your body and mind, you are necessarily an unchanging observer. This is the essence of who you are, unchanging consciousness. Okay, that is your essence. Okay. Then we have Nirakara. Akara means form. So our body has got form. Mind also has got form. We have a thought. The thought is a form. What about consciousness? It is Nirakara. It has no form. And because it has no form, it has got no edge, no boundary, no limit. Therefore, it is limitless. Then we have the word Nirmalaha. Mala means dirt, impurity. that which is free of all impurity, which is very pure. Body has got impurity. Atma, this man has got impurity. But Atma is nirmalaha, absolutely free from impurity. Then we have Nitya Muktaha. Mukta means free. Nitya Mukta means always, eternally. That which was never bound, always free. So the goal of Vedanta is what? It is moksha, it is mukti. Moksha means what? Freedom. Mukti means freedom. So Shankaracharya is saying, Nitya Muktaha Asmi. In the first person, Aham Nitya Muktaha. Nitya Muktosmi. I am always free. Iti. Consciousness is always free. In what sense? Body is not free from aging. Mind is not free from ups and downs. Then what is it that is always free, which is always liberated? That is Atma, your true self. Okay? Your essential nature. Now you tell me, if consciousness is always free, okay, does consciousness need moksha? Does consciousness need guru? Does consciousness need shastra? Consciousness does not need anything. Nitya muktaha. Okay? But the one who needs the scriptures, the one who needs the guru, the one who needs Vedanta is not Atma. It is the individual person, the Jivaha. Jiva needs Vedanta, the individual. Atma doesn't need, because Atma is Nitya Muktaha. So now this verse told us so many words about Atma. How can we use this for our contemplation? Iti. No? Okay. Each of these words in this verse is meant for Nidhyasana. So I can suggest how that should be. Okay. Contemplation has 3 types of steps. We saw already, I'm repeating so many times. One is the particular kind of identification that you want to address. Then you use some meditative practice to make your mind quiet. Even pranayam will do. Pranayam में तो मन एकदम शांत हो जाती है. Then reflection on, after that, moments of silence. Reflect on that moment of silence, whether that particular identification that you are addressing was present when the mind is silent. These are the 3 steps for Nidhyasana. So gunaha, nirgunaha. So step 1 is to ask the question, do the gunas of my body, the attributes of my body mind belong to me? Do they affect me consciousness? Step 2. Manage to get 5 seconds of silence. Okay, through your meditation, japa, whatever. Your mind is silent. You conscious being are very much there. Step 3. After that silence is over, reflect, think about it. In those moments of silence, was there any attribute of the body and mind present? Did you feel your body, that I am old, I am female, when your mind was silent? No, but you were present. As consciousness, you were present. So what you reflect on, and you will see very vividly and very clearly that in those 5 seconds of silence, there is no guna, no attributes, no qualities at all. Okay? So we discover Atma is like this, in this way. We use these words of Shastra, Nirguna, Nishkriya, Nirmala, Niranjana, Nirvikara. Each of these words is to be contemplated on. The activities of the body and mind, do they affect consciousness? Go into silence, and you will see in that silence there is no activity there at all. Is the consciousness that you are affected? It is not affected at all by the absence, of the actions. Iti. Niranjanaha. The dukkha, sukha. Is it there in silence? When your mind becomes silent, you are present. Sukha dukkha is not there. Therefore, sukha dukkha don't belong to consciousness, they belong to manaha iti. So in consciousness, you discover none of these things are there. All the things that we negated, nirguna, so guna is not there, vikara is not there, akara is not there. Akara is very interesting. So what you discover in that moments of silence is that you are present, you are the aware observer, you are the sakshi who is aware of the silence. You are aware of the absence of mental activities, you are aware of the absence of vrittis, you are aware of the silence, and you are very much present as sakshi. And as the witness of that silence, is there anything changing? There's no change whatsoever. Therefore, you are nishkriya, nirvikara, nirakara. See, akara is a very interesting thing. Akara means form. And everyone of has this feeling that I am this form. This is my edge. I finish here. Where my skin finishes, I finish. Iti. And the other begins. This is the sense that we have. Okay? This edge is me. I exist up till here, no further. Now in that 5 seconds of silence, it will be better if it is longer. Afterwards, ask yourself, in that 5 seconds of silence, was there any sense of having an edge or boundary? Iti. Was there a sense of having a location? Very sophisticated. If you say yes, I still felt located. That means what? There's that vritti is there. I am the body, vritti is there in the mind at that time. That means pure silence is not there. And then that I am the body, vritti, is it not an object? It is just an object. Body is an object. I am the body, vritti is an object. Who are you? You are the one who is illumining that vritti, iti. So what happens is, in all these identifications, we are superimposing something upon Atma. Atma is totally free. This is the message of Shastra. Divyaha, Amurtaha, Shubhraha, iti. And so this is what Nidhyasana is. And with that, we conclude. Okay. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om. Shri Guru Bhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Next few classes, I'm planning just some graded, not Nidhyasana. We will start with meditation. So we will do in a graded fashion, certain facts which I feel we should do before we get up to Nidhyasana. Of course, in this Atmabodha, the topic has come up of Nidhyasana. So we are taking it very sincerely without cutting any corners. But we should be doing some meditation, and I'll take some graded meditations from next time. Okay. So we'll only be doing a short meditation next time, maybe 30 minutes, 40 minutes, 40 minutes of meditation. And then we will do another one and then another one, like that, four, 5 meditations. Then we'll come back to our topic. Yeah. Alternatively, I can suggest a meditation retreat, which means like 2 times a day we meditate, So then instead of the graded supposing I want to do 4 graded meditations with you, then instead of taking 4 weeks to do it, I take 2 days. Over 2 days, I do 2 times, one in the morning, one in the evening. We do like that. So think about it and let me know what is your preference. Okay. Om Harihi Om Tat Sat. Anything you want to ask, you're welcome to ask. Gor Vedant. Eh? This is called you are in the thick of Vedant, you know. But those meditations will help, okay? Meditations will help a lot to first have a relationship, a healthy relationship with the body, seeing it as Ishvara, recognizing the body is nothing but a gift of Ishvara and it is Ishvara, iti. That is very important. First step needs to be done. Then we can think about all this Nidhyasana. Okay, Hari Om Tat Sat.
Hari Om. Hari Om.
Yes, no, Sonia
yeah.
uncle is going to say something. Yeah.
No, only Hari Om I said.
Oh, Hari Om. Okay, Hari.
Hari